Hi, everyone. I'm here today. This is Shayna J, One Heart Mission, with Gwen Peterson, my dear new friend. And we're working together on the group that she founded called Spiritual Communities Network. And I'm very excited about meeting her and all of the work that she does in the over 12,000 followers that are in the communities, spiritual communities network, and all the outreach she does. Plus, she has her own bevy of work that she does that is really sweet and beautiful and focusing on how can I serve the public. So, offering lots of classes and with her beautiful wisdom. So thanks for being here and accepting my invitation.
Well, thanks for having me here, and that was awful sweet and wonderful. Quite the introduction. I should have you follow me around everywhere I go.
Yeah, one time I had a birthday party and I was going to have everybody introduce themselves. And I said, oh, no, 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 let me introduce you all to each other the way I see you. And they were, wow, it was so much fun to do it that way.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah, it was
is. It
really
is,
great. Yeah.
because sometimes we just don't really, we don't give ourselves that kind of credit or, you
No.
know,
We don't see ourselves the way others see us, so it's kind of nice to hear sometimes. Yeah.
that critical mind.
So tell me a little bit about your work and how you serve clients and what makes your heart so passionate about being in community and spiritual community especially.
um, Gosh, where to start with that? I think probably the best place to start is to say that, over 30 years ago, I started my own personal practice of, you know, delving into, why I wasn't happy and, when everything on the outside should be, everything on the outside's perfect, but why is this in here not where it needs to be?
Mm.
And moving through all that and through that practice, um, discovering my soul's purpose and not really knowing the purpose. Because it sounds like I actually know where it's going and I don't. But um, me and my soul have developed quite the relationship, let's say
Mhm.
that. And in addition to that, I have just been guided, in where I need to be and what I need to be doing. And out of that came Spiritual Communities Network. And so, even though my work is supporting, whether it's through Insights and Eliminations or through Spiritual Communities Network, it looks like, because I'm supporting teachers and seekers of spiritual growth, and that looks where my service is, but my service really is to my soul. And when you're in service to your soul knows where you need to be and what's going on. And even though I'm always second guessing it, going, are you sure
Yeah.
about that? And so yeah, that's kind of where, that's the condensed version. Tell me if you want me to expand on any part of that.
Well, that's okay. I like chipping, around the edges of that, and then we'll go into the deeper subject of mastering the moment. Is what is that like for you, and how have you developed yourself in that way? Is it something that you've been looking for as a way to live your life more spiritually aware?
um, Living in the moment, that wasn't my goal. That really wasn't my goal. That kind of came as I started exploring, why wasn't I happy? And as that unfolded, I realized that, your happiness is in the moment. You can't, it's not in the past, it's not in the future, it's always in your present moment. And so that really is where it kind of, my practice went. And, I worked with, it seemed like I did a lot of searching through a lot of different teachers and stuff like we all do, right? And I just kept thinking there was something missing. I'm like, there's a piece everybody's leaving out. And I'm not quite sure what that piece is, but I'm going to figure it out,
Oh,
and because I'd go to seminars, I'd go to classes, I'd read books, and they would move me to that spot, but I
right.
couldn't recreate it the next day.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is it? Why can't I go there on my own?
Yeah, yeah.
Even in meditation, I kind of was like, I can't get there on my own. And it finally came to me when I came across the Asking and Is Given book by
Right.
Abraham Hicks material. It's one of their older books. And it took a few shots of reading it, trying to read it, because of the energy, the way, just the whole energetic of the book. But once I moved through it and then asked my question, of, well, do you, is this where you're at or isn't it? Because obviously you've dabbled around all the edges, and that's what the problem is. But the thing that was missing was the emotion. They're all about the emotional guidance scale, right?
Right.
And that your emotions are your guidance. And and once I kind of got the idea of, okay, if God's love, peace, and joy, and you're feeling love, peace, and joy, then that's your alignment.
Hmm.
So anything that doesn't feel like that means you've moved away from that spot, and it's just a little flag going, hey, you're when those harder feeling emotions come in, those are your signals to go, hey, hold on.
Right.
Where did I just go,
I
and why
just,
am I there?
yeah.
And using different tools to move back into that spot.
Mhm.
And the when you're in love, peace, and joy, that's present moment,
Right.
because you cannot be in that alignment anywhere else, right?
Right. It's physically impossible to be in two places at once. You have to
Right.
focus on the place that you're in and constantly bring yourself back to where you choose to be.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I found through later on going into teaching soul work, with people, and based on my experiences and stuff, I found that um, we don't realize it. We kind of get numb to those feelings, and especially like I was brought up, German heritage. You show no emotion.
I have
Do,
heritage. I didn't get that one though.
Yeah, on both sides of the family, you just didn't
Right.
show emotion,
Oh,
don't stand there and cry, you know, you know, and so, there's that. And then, just other upbringings where I just, you're kind of taught, our culture teaches you to be fearful.
yes.
So once you're in those places for any length of time, you really become numb to it, and you don't really understand
It becomes,
where you're at.
yes, it's an unconscious habit. And it lives then in the unconscious. And so you're basically reacting to your life rather than living it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and that's perfect, perfectly said, because you know if you're in a place where you feel like your life is coming at you versus you creating your life, and again that goes back to your present moment.
Right.
When you're in your alignment, you know your power, and you understand where you stand in relationship to what's going on around you.
Yeah.
So the world's not really coming at you. You're looking at it more like, hey, do I want this or don't I?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do I
Exactly.
want to go from here?
Yeah. Well, so this is really interesting. So what would you feel or say that the challenges have been to staying on task with that.
It took practice, obviously. Like I said, I started like almost 30 years ago on this venture. And now with the energy, people arc so much quicker, but and probably people aren't as slow learning as I am.
And me
But
too. I say that too. Took me a while to practice it. No, but I will say that the energy was a lot slower and more dense in the days when
you
that you
started,
and I are
right?
talking about.
Yeah, and you can look at it from that standpoint too, that we don't all have to become monks and live in a cave for 50
Which
years.
is what we thought we had to do
Yeah,
to
and we
get
don't
that
need to do
density
that.
away from us. Yeah,
Right. So we don't need to do that, So, it took committing to a practice. So I started my meditation, and
yeah,
as I um, learned the proper way to meditate, which is, you know, um, it's more of learning to connect to your soul than it
uh-huh.
is, some of this other stuff that people, and it's not so much what people are taught. I think people get it stuck in their head what they think meditation is,
Oh, uh-huh.
and then they get into and so they don't they short circuit themselves. you know, because they try to do it on their own. They don't really understand it. They've got a preconceived notion, and
Yeah,
it just shoots them in the foot, and then they kind of, I can't do it. And um,
yeah,
but developing that meditation practice, and then coupling that with the emotional thing, and it took some time to really digest the emotions, and what emotions were where and why and how to move those. But once I kind of got the hang of that, I really could tune in to my soul's guidance.
can you explain?
My nudges, those nudges you get.
Yeah. So
You
can
know,
you explain a little bit, elaborate more on your soul's guidance? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about their divine guidance or listening to God or listening to the internal
right, and it's all kind of, you get high enough up in the energetics, it's all one anyway, right? There's no real,
okay, right,
but your soul energy that came in through this body experience, right? It comes in knowing already what the experience is going to be. It already knows every corner you're going to try to take and every step you're going to try to make. It's got that all worked out, so it comes in, and I like to equate it to the movie Avatar, where you're in that thing and you go into the avatar body. Well, it's
right.
kind of like that. You're coming into this avatar body, which is your physical body. Only thing is, the difference is this thing's got a mind, okay, and it does its own thing. So your poor soul's in there going, turn left, turn right, no, don't do that. Why do you keep running into that wall like that? Stop it.
Yeah,
It's I guess you could almost say it's like the first time you're playing a game on the computer, and you got your little hand things and you're like, no, no, don't go that way. So your soul comes in like that, and it knows that it's got to try to control this physical being that's not going to be listening, not
that has a
doing
mind.
it has a mind. And so it comes through in different ways. Okay. So it's all about love, peace, and joy, right? So if the body starts to shift off of its center, it starts to feel crappy, but it doesn't know why, you
Mhm.
know, and then, you'll get those nudges, and everybody gets them. It's like, because you'll always hear somebody say, I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. Something told me not to pick that phone call up, right?
Yeah,
And so we all get those nudges, we just don't listen to them.
right.
And those nudges come from spirit. However you want to label it. I don't care how you label it,
Okay,
but
okay.
it comes from spirit.
Yeah.
And in particular, it does come from that soul essence. Okay, because you got the angels and guides and stuff, they come through that pineal gland.
Uh,
Okay, so you do go ahead and have you know, a wider range of input, if you like,
Uh-huh.
which sometimes is easier to connect with because, you know, it's always easier to fix somebody else than yourself. So it's easier to go to someone else for input. What do I do now than to go, hey, soul, wake up. Where are we
Right.
going now? What are we doing? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So, you know, and you have to learn to trust that. You
Hmm.
know, that's a thing too, is, you know, learning to build a trust in your soul when your soul's guiding you, or like I said, however you want to describe your innerness, your inner beingness, that
Okay.
oneness, you know, what there's a million labels for it, but that piece of essence that comes through your soul, your heart center.
Yeah.
Okay. So through that heart center, you need to learn to trust it because we've built walls around it to protect it. You
Mhm.
know, it tells us you need to go left when you want to go right. And you're kind of like, no, we always go right. And it's going, no, you don't want to go that way. You want to go this
There's something
way.
better for you the other way. Just
Yeah.
listen.
You don't want to deal with that traffic jam you're going to run into.
We're trying to avoid the problem.
I mean, I find myself sometimes I'll be like going down the highway and all of a sudden I'll get this nudge of take the next exit and go to the bathroom. And I'm like, did I need to go to the bathroom?
No, but
shouldn't
you
that,
will in an hour.
shouldn't my bladder be telling me that?
You're so funny.
And then you find out when you get back on the thing and you're in a traffic jam sitting for an hour or two, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I went to the bathroom and got my coffee. You know, it's just
That's
crazy
a
stuff
great
like that.
example.
You know, so once you kind of get the hang of that and find that you trust that, I just have tuned into that to where I move. That's how I move, you know. It's like, oh, I'm feeling I need to be in that left lane. Okay, here I go. Watch out, everybody. I'm coming over.
That's great. So, how do you have any particular way that you help guide people toward living in the moment and choosing that as a goal or as a focus that they'll plan their growth
Yeah,
around?
I have a number of different classes, but they all pretty much revolve around the heart opening meditation, which is where I hold the vibration of the angels and guides that that have come to work with me on this, that have come to support my soul, which we all have, right? We all have, those higher energy levels that come in to
Right.
support us and be there with us. And so there's the meditation, it's the heart opening meditation, which lets people begin to open that thread again. The antakarana is kind of the thing for it. And um and teaching them about the emotions, how
About
to use their
emotion,
emotions. Yeah.
how to use their emotions. Oh, interesting. So is that, tell me more about that. How to use your emotions.
Well, using them from the standpoint of if you're finding that you started out the day in a really good place, and then all of a sudden you start realizing, I'm kind of not feeling great right all of a sudden. Learning to tune into that shift of, all of a sudden I'm not feeling good. Why am I not feeling good? So you use your emotions to go, okay, where was I just thinking?
Very good. Okay. So direct
Because
to what the mind is doing that could be changing their state of being.
yeah, because it's all, the thoughts, run, if you have a mind that isn't being taken care of, minded, if you're not minding your mind,
Right.
it, it just does its own thing,
It
you
does.
know? And if you're not paying attention, there are people there, there's different levels of beingness on the planet for obvious reasons. It keeps the planet in check, right? Um, there's at one point people who have no idea that they have thoughts running around in their brain, that
They don't stop
they
to listen.
because that's an awareness level. You have
Right.
to be able to be aware that you're thinking,
Right.
you know, and there are some people, and that's not poo-pooing on anybody, you know, like again, your soul comes in knowing. So your soul comes in and says, hey, we're just going to float along in this life experience. We are not working.
Gotcha.
You know, so they come in that way. Then you have other people that are quite aware of the thoughts that are going on in their head, but they just really don't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then as people are like, you know, I think I want to explore my spiritual path, well, then you do. That's what meditation's all about. What's going on up there? What are you listening to all day? You
Right.
know, where's your focus? Where do you put your
Right.
focus all day? You know, so, you know, when you start to work with your emotions make the thought process really easy, because anytime you
Okay.
slip out of, because your mind usually is going to be fearful. It only knows the past,
Right.
and chances are you've only fed it with the past, the fear, right?
Right.
So you start to realize that, oh, if I'm having negative thoughts, it's probably my mind, not my soul, because my soul's all about love, peace, and joy.
Right.
You know, so if I'm not feeling real good, I'm listening to my mind, and where did I just let my mind go?
Yes. Yes. And
And
then how does
sometimes you'll be
that affect,
shocked.
pardon me?
You'll be really shocked by that. Where
Oh,
the
absolutely.
thoughts.
What was I just listening to? And then what did that do? Did that create my emotion? Oh, probably because it was connected to a past trauma
Hmm.
or pain or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So the funny part about is because I teach a lot about the mind is that it's also a tape recorder.
Yep.
It doesn't know anything brand new. And when you're in the moment, you're in creation. You're creating from the space of who you truly are in totality.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you had any kind of trip. So the way you guide your clients is through their emotional state to understand that there is to become more aware of the mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And then once they become more aware of their mind, because, you know, sometimes we get caught in, well, you know, the two wolves, you know, you've heard the story of the two wolves, or you've got the story of the angels on the shoulders, you know, which one do you listen to? I don't know which one to listen to, you know.
Right.
So once you kind of get a feel for, you know, what you can expect from a mind, what you can expect from your soul, it helps you to kind of figure things out, you know.
Oh, very good. So you're distinguishing the difference between your mind and the soul. That's great. Keeping them in an alignment then. And again, becoming very aware of what's going on. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and so sometimes, a lot of times, meditation and journaling, those are my two big things, you know, for people. You know, you really need to work up to that daily meditation practice and
Yeah,
journaling,
yeah,
because journaling's a great way to see what's in your head, you
yeah.
know,
That's true.
and it'll transition. Your journaling transitions from, you know, being in a place of, oh, that person, blah, 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 or today I felt really crappy, or, you know, it'll start to transition as you start to move through your spiritual awareness and your practice. Your journaling will actually shift to a place where you are tuning into spirit,
Mm-hmm.
divine wisdom, and
Mm-hmm.
you can, it'll be amazing, you know, sometimes what'll come through of, you know, guidance. And like I said, you know, spiritual communities network, that's exactly where it came from.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps you on your path once you're really connected to it in a more habitual way. It's daily, and then whoops, if you missed it or you recognize that you're off, you get back on, and then you find the little miracles that life wants to give you that you can interact and put your sweetness in.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's where I've got a lot of my visions as well, and the
Yeah.
things that I've done. In fact, this that we're doing right now came out of meditation, and I saw my Mastering the Moment page on Facebook, and I've been wondering, what do I do to give it some energy? And then this came was will do interviews with people who, we have the whole gamut of the way people learn to or want to or master living in the moment. And well, let's talk about that and see, and
Right.
so I just saw the whole thing connecting and
Right.
creating more of the community, which is what I wanted, is that page, that group page, to be much more of a community that's interactive and
Right.
people getting to know each other and what their wisdom is and what their challenges are, and how, give it a space for some communication
Yeah.
that's really honest, not just some technique they read out of a book, but
Right. And that comes from practice. You're
yeah,
being able to sit into in a meditation place and tap into divine wisdom and get that, those nudges from spirit that said, guess where we're going?
right.
you know, guess what you're going to be up to this year?
I know, right? And
But
we're
that stuff
answering
comes from
your prayer.
but that comes from your practice.
Yes.
And I'll throw that out there for if somebody's listening to this and they're just starting out. You'll arc quickly. Like we said, the energy is really fast moving. So you can arc really quickly, but you're probably not going to get that the first time out. you know, because
Because you've got your
Jim,
mind to deal with.
you got some things you got to clear out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got things you got to clear, and and you only take care of what comes up. You don't need to go, okay, well, what am I going to no, it'll present itself.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll know what you need to work on as you start, putting one foot in front of the other.
Right. And I think that one of the things is that people don't know that they can trust that inner wisdom that comes to them, those nudges that tell them what to do. I remember at the beginning for me, would argue with it. I would hear
Oh,
it and then I would argue with it. And like you were saying, left, right. No, but I want to go right. Don't, no, go left. No, go to the bathroom. We're telling you.
oh, and I have a great story of that. All right.
Okay.
I went to, and this was recent. So even after 30 years of knowing better, I still will, because remember Avatar, Gwen Peterson will still argue with divine wisdom. And who knows better? So I'm on this trip. It was a fair, and it was the last day of the fair. So I was packing my stuff so I could leave later. And my plan was to go downstairs, have some breakfast real quick, and leave. So I was going to take my suitcase and everything with me and just take everything down, eat, and leave. So I'm walking and I'm getting ready, and spirits like I can feel the nudge here, and I can hear, leave your suitcase here.
Oh,
Leave your suitcase. And I'm like, no, no, I'm taking my suitcase down with me. We're gonna have breakfast and we're leaving. Spirits like, I could just, I don't want to say it's not clairaudient because it's not like somebody standing in the room telling me. It's a
yeah,
vibration that I've learned to read. And
right.
this vibration is like, no, you want to leave that suitcase here. I'm like, I am not walking all the way down to the elevator, going downstairs, coming back up, walking all the way back to this room because I was at the other
Stop,
end of this place. I'm like,
stop
I am not
exhausting
doing all that
my life.
walking. So I refuse to listen. I grab my stuff. I get to the elevator. I'm standing at the elevator, and I just missed it. The people get in the elevator. I hear it close, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, waiting for the elevator to come back. And all of a sudden, I realize I can hear the people in the elevator talking, and I'm like, and all of a sudden, I hear them say, "I think we're stuck." The elevator has stopped working.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, boy, am I glad I'm not in the elevator right now.
Right?
Then I look down and I'm like, because I'm thinking, well, I'll just go down the stairs, and I look down at my suitcase. And I'm like,
You have to
oh,
drag the
I'm
suitcase
like, I
down
don't
the
want to
stairs.
drag the suitcase down all these stairs. So I have to walk all the way back and drop my suitcase off at the room.
So you had to walk back anyway.
I was just like, I'll get it one of these
I
days.
know. I
I'll
know.
get it.
That's so great. That's a great story.
Yeah,
That's a great
I got a
story.
million of them. I don't listen.
I hear you, sweetie. But see, that's what I'm saying. It's the trust. It's the trust. It's the implicit trust. No matter what, you're not alone, sweetie. That one is like, we have a long way to go to learn to trust at that level. And
Right,
along the way, though, if we're just wise enough to see, retrace the steps and the thought patterns and see the miscommunication happening, then that's where you learn. That's really
right. And then your mind gets on board.
uh-huh.
Okay. Because after a little while, your mind kind of goes, you know, I think we used to listen to, I think we want to listen to this on this one.
Right.
Because your mind, like you said, your mind's a tape recorder. So your mind will get to a place where it understands that it doesn't know where this stuff's coming from, and it doesn't really your mind won't trust it,
That's right.
but it also is smart. Your brain can be smart enough to go, I think we want to listen on this one.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, wait, where'd that come from?
Right. And
now,
right.
now everybody's ganging up on me.
Yeah. I know. I even got to a point where I would say, okay, I don't want to listen, but I'm going to anyway. So I would let my mind tell me what it wanted to tell me. And then I would go, okay, I hear that. And I'm going to listen to the other just for the fun of it, just to see what happens. And it always played out. So
It
what
does.
I've
It
noticed
always
that,
plays out. That's what's
right,
silly about it. It always plays
it
out.
always plays out,
Exactly.
but we don't trust that because we don't know this is the unknown.
Well, it gets to be an ego thing too,
Uh-huh.
of no, I'm in control here.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Exactly.
it's me, and I'm making the decisions.
Right, right. But the far greater love, which is love of ourselves, is to be able to make that distinguishing factor. And I found that for my mind, in order for my mind to let go, I needed to acknowledge that I was hearing it. I needed
Hmm.
to literally give it the consideration. And that was being compassionate toward myself. I hear,
Right.
and then it could easily kind of let go without me getting into that push pull fight of I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm the boss here. It's my life, and I'm going to control it.
Right. Right. And it depends where you're at on your spiritual path, because you go through different initiations,
Yeah,
whether you're aware of it or not,
yeah,
so there's, different levels. And you start out with the seeker level, and that's you're taking in information, you're just
right,
taking it in. And then, the to live in the moment again is not a beginner thing,
right.
you know and I think that's where a lot of people um to get defeated in spirituality is
Uh-huh.
because they're like this oneness, the being in the now, they hear all that. How do you get in the now? And that was that piece where I was like, how do you get in the, where's that piece that's missing that gets me into that now place everybody keeps talking about, right? And um and I think that was part of the learning too, is that that's not a beginner level thing. If you're brand spanking new, if you don't have a meditation practice,
Yes.
don't put the goal of I'm going to be in the now all day every day. Don't do that. You
Yeah,
set the practice of today I'm going to sit for 10 minutes.
right.
And that can be the hardest thing,
Yeah,
just sitting down for 10 minutes
right.
and doing nothing.
And doing nothing.
That was because that was a big one for me. And that's, when I do my meditation classes, it's one of the things I teach people. I get it. I was a multitasker. I probably spent the first few months of learning to meditate just arguing with myself over the necessity of sitting in the chair for 10
Right,
minutes.
right.
You mean you're not going to be doing three things at the same time? No,
No,
I'm going to close my eyes. We're not even going to sleep. We're going to close our eyes and we're just going to sit here.
that's right. That's right. You gotta watch what happens, which is
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. It's a little step by step thing,
Oh, that's great. I love hearing this because these are all the things of the ways that I like to just bring out what is in the pink elephant in the room. People talk about living in the moment, but it's not simple. And you're bringing out the challenges. Is what I'm looking for from your perspective. What are the things that keep getting in our way? So now let's switch to, well, say you get some goodies, you start feeling like it's going to be something you can really commit to. What are some of the blessings that come?
oh my gosh, blessings. Lots of blessings. And and I want to say the blessings that come, it's not like, um, and this part will make me cry. That's why I have tissues. um, when I started this practice many years ago, moving into it and learning that when you do your meditation, when you're done with meditation, you don't flip the switch off. Okay, that's a big one. And I've had people say to me, what do you mean? Even people who practice it, I'm like, the whole point of meditation is to hold that energy
Yeah,
and move it into your day. And
right.
you just keep moving it into your day, right? And I've had people who are like, they teach meditation and they're like, what are you talking about?
Wow,
And
really?
I'm like, seriously? But so, as I did that, as I started taking that centeredness, moving it into my day and paying attention to when I moved out of it based on my emotions,
Uh-huh.
I started to see my life transform.
Mm,
Things got easier. Like at the early days when I first started meditating, I told myself, okay, I'm only going to meditate because it was really hard 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
okay.
10 minutes. And they were guided meditations because I just really couldn't shut down my brain. So I did
Yeah,
guided meditations. So
absolutely.
then I kind of got the hang of it. And after a little bit, I was like, okay, Monday through Friday. So I stepped up my game Monday through Friday.
Nice.
And then all of a sudden, I started noticing Mondays were getting crazy. Just like by Monday morning, my life was a mess. It seemed like on the weekends, there was no rhyme or reason. Everything was just chaotic. And I was like, what is with that? And then it dawned on me, it was the meditations. The
Wow.
Saturday and Sunday that I was not meditating,
Yeah,
those days had no energetic intention
nice.
set for them. So I was like, okay, I'm a believer every day. So every day. And then my meditation practice changed. And as I went along, I started noticing I felt better about things. Okay. But probably my biggest blessing and the biggest example of that, because a lot of times I think people start out, because a lot of teachers talk about get everything that you want, have the life that you want, create everything in your life that you want, right? So people go, oh, I want a big house, lots of money, nice car. And and yeah, those things are nice and you can have them. But when you start your spiritual practice, you start understanding that, yeah, you can have those things, you know. And once you're in that position, you're kind of like, well, I guess I really don't need the big house. I kind of like the house I'm in. Or if you do go to a bigger house, it has more value to you than just something outside of yourself.
And
Okay.
isn't that the key, the value?
Yeah. And so, and a lot of times that's where we go, when we first start out, we're thinking we're going to create this beautiful, wonderful life where nothing horrible happens. But you still have your life experience.
Mm,
Okay. You're still going to have that life experience. Your practice, that oneness, okay? When you have your oneness going and you're living in that moment, you have, and I think I've heard you talk about this in other places, you have the grace to move through things,
right.
okay? So, like for me, for example, I, a number of years ago, my daughter developed a health condition
Mm,
that was very traumatic on many levels for everybody and everything, right? And um, had I not had my practice, I would not have moved through it with grace
yeah. That's,
because without my practice, I don't know how I would have gotten through it.
yeah.
And I don't know how I would have been able to support her the way I did energetically. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's not that things are going to be wonderful and beautiful,
Yes.
okay? But you're going to have the grace to move through it,
Exactly. And the strength.
okay? The
Yes.
strength.
Strength and
Um,
inner.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, so
Well,
yeah, that's probably the biggest blessing that you get from from having a practice,
that's beautiful.
that you can take on whatever comes your way in a better place. And I've had my students say the same thing where they'll have something just, earth shattering. They'll lose children, you know, they'll lose loved ones, spouses, whatever. They will lose things or their health. And they'll be like, they'll be moving through it, and then they'll be like, all of a sudden they'll look at in the group they'll be like, something, if I didn't have my practice, I would have, I don't know what I would have done at this point, because they talk about how there's, you know this peace, that inner peace of,
Yeah.
what, this can be okay, this
Yeah.
doesn't look real good right now, but I think spirit's got me on this. I can feel it. I can feel that I'm supported in a bigger way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the blessing we take away from
Yeah.
our practice, from doing our work.
Oh God, Gwen, that's just so beautiful. I totally agree with you. It's just that one of the major blessings I feel too is that connection of how do I get through life, but staying in the moment and knowing that my guides, my spirit, my God, and I call it all those different things.
Yeah, right.
My angels,
And it'll answer to all of it. Hey, you.
I, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know what I would have done in all the different things. Of course, you know, anyway, there's a lot in what you just said. It's so, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, thank you. What about your clients? Do you see them really, getting in the groove and then telling you that they're having some grace with it?
Oh, yeah. 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 That, like I said, they'll just be, you'll see that aha moment where they'll be talking about what's going on, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, you know if I didn't have my practice, this would have been they can see that they're in a different place here than they were, like, say, 2 years ago. People will be like, if this had happened a year ago, I would have fallen apart.
Yes.
Or if this would have happened to me, 5 months ago,
Hmm.
I don't know how I would have managed, you know?
Absolutely.
So your practice, I can't tell people that enough, every day,
Yeah.
all day. And that's why, Spiritual Communities Network, is such a wonderful program that Spirits pulled together, because it takes practitioners such as you and many others that are in the group and brings that work in, because no one person is the teacher,
Yeah.
you know where each person brings their thing, and someone might come to me for a short period of time and then they'll move on to you, or vice versa, and there's an ebb and flow with the whole thing. So Spiritual Communities Network is just a really wonderful way to hold people in that space
Right.
as they move through what they need to move through.
Absolutely. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll put the link to Spiritual Communities Network on the information, and then people can go take a look at it and see if it, what wherever you on your are on your path, if you're just beginning or you're a little ways down, or even if you're
Yeah.
advanced, you might become a member just to participate at whatever level you're at. And the stronger we are in group, the stronger the energy vibrates out, and it attracts more people.
Yeah, that's a reason, there's a reason the planet's energy is raised. There's a reason why um, so many more people are feeling this nudge of, I think I gotta
It's got
figure
stuff
this
in
out,
the
you
way.
know, because there's the teachers that hold that energy, the practitioners all around the world, all the light workers, they hold that vibration for the planet and allow everybody to step into it when they're ready.
That's right. That's right. And that's why I'm doing these kinds of conversations.
I'm loving it.
Really, because I think it's so important to keep speaking into wherever someone is in the right place, and now you're hearing something that might help you today.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And that's the key, because you never know when you're gonna
you never
run
know.
into somebody, or when someone's gonna, you know, turn on turn on the thing, whatever this is, if this is YouTube or Facebook or wherever it's at, when they're gonna stumble onto it. It could be 5 years from now and they'll be like, whoa, you just never know. So all you can do is follow those nudges. So when Spirit says, hey, Shana, guess what? Guess what you're doing this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You never know. And plus, the other thing is that having people that are different than me, and then we talk, and yet we're going, so our vibration is on the same wavelength, but we say it in a different way, and we have different experiences. So we're relating to many more people. There's an old phrase about one horse can pull its own weight, but two horses can pull 10 times its weight. And
Well,
that is what I'm looking for here. That is what I'm knowing is what our possibilities are. So, Gwen, I really want to thank you for joining me today.
well, thanks for having me. It
Yeah.
was it was fun. It's one of my favorite topics. I love
Oh,
talking on this.
wonderful. Wonderful. And thank you, everyone that's here and listening, and for staying with us this long. And please look, and I'll post the link for Gwen's Spiritual Communities Network and her work, so you can share this wherever you like. Gwen, I'll send you
Aw,
the,
thank you. I'd appreciate
the,
that.
the tape. There's an old fumble.
Is it going to be a cassette tape? Or I was telling my daughter about, your mom remembers 8 tracks.
Extraction. Francis,
Never owned one, but I remember seeing them.
don't update yourself too much, my dear.
Right.
So thank you again, and we'll talk soon, and stay tuned for the next
Yes.
video. Every Monday I'm posting these, so watch for it.
Nice.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, my dear. Love you.
You're welcome. Love you.
Thank